Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the 808 podcast where I interview business owners, CEOs, marketing directors, whoever the heck I feel like. 4 questions, 8 minutes and 8 seconds, because 808 looks like Bob, and here we go. Question number 1 in a couple sentences. Tell me who you are and what do you do?
So I am a lifelong entrepreneur. I'm an executive consultant, brand experience strategist, and completely obsessed with tacos. You can either find me doing one of 2 things. I'm either consulting, speaking, or podcasting on the power of brand experience and culture to help you thrive, or operating my gourmet churro business called San Diablo Artisan Churros. It's the first gourmet churro business in Utah, and I'm actually in our working kitchen right now.
Nice. And what is your name?
My name is Scott Porter.
Perfect, Scott. Love it there. Question number 2. What advice do you want to share? Go.
So I feel like, I mean, I'm on the search for the perfect taco, but this is much more than just about insanely good tacos. And happy Taco Tuesday, by the way. But this is about real human connection. And that is on wild display in a true taqueria experience. And by human connection, I'm talking about little things that they do at taco experiences that really allow you to connect on a human to human level. They remember your name. They remember what you ordered. I was at this taco, one of my favorite taco places in East LA, and hadn't been there in 6 months. El Pecas. Went up to the window. Ernesto greeted me and he said, "Hey Scott, how you been? Where have you been for the past 6 months? Do you want your tacos al pastor the way you always like them? Extra crispy meat with extra pineapple." And I thought, yes, that is exactly the way I want them. And how in the world do you remember that? But then he cares that much, and there's like so many things in that micro interaction about real human connection. And so that's what I want to inspire all of us in any areas of influence that we have as business leaders, to create strategically and embed elements of human connection into everything that we do, starting with our mission and values and then carrying them through consistently with our teams.
Perfect. So can you give me some examples of some things that you do in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first and foremost, I've really broken down what these basic, simple things are into 4 kind of elements. And the first element is what I call it's an acronym that is ironically tacos. Taco, I don't know how that happens, but the first is the fundamentals. So this is fundamentally defining your organizational mission and values. It's the heartbeat, it's the core of everything that you do. And with that in place, then you have to fundamentally provide something that works or that's delicious. Your churros have to be good or no one's coming back. Your electric car has to work or no one's going to buy it. So at your core, who you are and what you believe in. And what I've found in my experience is that a lot of businesses and organizations have some difficulty really they may have a great mission and values statement, but they have a tough time really bringing it to life. And so some of the things that I've done that I've seen be wildly successful is first of all, setting that as the expectation and bringing everyone on board to actually enact your mission and values, to bring them to life. So things like the onboarding experience and recruiting the right people, interviewing them and asking them. One of the things that I always ask our team at San Diablo, when we want to create the best food experience in the world and help people experience the joy of food. And so one of the things that I always ask in interviews is about one of our company values, which is the I in Diablo, which means interaction, not transaction. So I ask and I screen for people that are going to help us create interactions, and based on their responses and based on my interaction with them in the interview, I get a really good sense, are these people that are just like transactional people? If so, then I want them to work for someone else. I want people that are going to connect and from human to human. And so that's one very actionable thing, is just like setting the expectation of your team about what they can do to bring your mission to life. How, like, we have a cowbell. and we ring it whenever we feel like it, whenever we want to engage with some of our members. We call our customers members.
Right.
But all of those little things, I want my team to look our members in the eye, call them by name. Instead of writing numbers to say that their churro order is ready, we write their names and we ask them about, and we mention something. We ring the cowbell if their kid's cute, if they won their soccer game, if they just got engaged, or whatever it is. Those are the types of specific connections that we're looking to do to create a very memorable and meaningful experience.
Scott, I hate to do this to you because we're all talking about transaction, engagement, everything, but we only have 2 minutes and 44 seconds left. I want to get going. If people want to know more about this, they got to go look you up. So that part there. For sure. Let's get to question number 3. It is shout out time. Go.
So I have a podcast where I interview CEOs about the brand experience that they've done, called Taco Incidents. And I've had some amazing guests on there that I really look up to, that have created both exceptional mission and brought their mission to life and created this extraordinary brand experience. Davis Smith, Nate with Cotopaxi, Nate Checketts with Roan, Sid Tetro with Women in Tech here in Utah, Betty Portos from Portos Bakery in LA, Jeremy Andrus with Traeger Grills. Extraordinary leaders that have done an excellent job at creating a breakthrough brand experience. Love it.
I'll look them up here. Number 4, final fun question. Scott, tell me about your first sale.
So this is interesting. I also started a toy and game company, Reverse Charades, with my brother. I walked into the BYU bookstore and I said, this would be a really great game for BYU students. They love to play games. And they said, great, we'll take 12. It was like the most unusually successful. There wasn't even a sale that had to happen. And so that was one of the first things that came to mind when I saw this question.
Love it. I love that story there. So, hey, Scott, you've got 1 minute and 24 seconds left. You can do some promo time. You can ask me a question. You can talk about the best background I've had during a podcast. Or, since the best deal wouldn't be concise and when to end, we end early, go for it.
Where are you going for tacos today? That's what I want to know. It's Taco Tuesday.
You know what? Actually, because first off, we're actually live on April 1st. We're live today on April 1st. Okay. It's not Tuesday, April Fools. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Every day's Taco Tuesday, right, Bob? So where's one of your favorite taco places?
So I like Albert Tacos around here. There's also another hole in the wall place. I don't even remember the name. They have an amazing.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah, I said that place in that corner, that part there. I will tell you though, my personal favorite food right now is a food truck called Burger Box.
Okay. Why?
And so in Colorado Springs, we just got In-N-Out Burger, and I'm like, it's such an my first job was at In-N-Out. Okay. But now I taste them. These burgers are just meh. They won't cook a medium rare. They have to be medium because of corporate BS. So I'm like, no. Then I'll go to the Burger Box. They'll get to me that medium rare. It's juicy. I love it.
That's awesome.
So that is my favorite place there.
Well, good to know. Yeah, no, that's great. Well, maybe one of these times when I get there, we'll go grab tacos
or maybe once I get the van, I'll come to you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Here we go. Hey, you pulled it off. 4 questions in 8 minutes and 8 seconds. Scott, why is it 8 minutes and 8 seconds?
Because it kind of looks like Bob.
It does. Your website, say it real quick.
Search for theperfecttaco.com.
In the description, it's magic. Scott, thank you so much for being on. Tip of the hat to you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And for everyone else watching or listening, I am legally required to tell you to like, share, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell, whatever the heck the social media network tells you all to do. You all have a good day now. Talk to you later. Bye.